Ay,
Ano na lang, let's make
the candidate
it,
form, yun lang yun. Meron bang ano?
Kasi the interview will be, ano lang naman, very casual lang naman siya. Even the video, ikakat naman namin siya. Also, ayun, parang conversation type lang naman. And this interview, kaya po namin siya kinakatak para rin sa content ng report. Let's start mo. Mostly, this will be about your experiences as an accountant, and most of the questions will be about taxes.
Taxes.
Oh. Let's start na. So, Mr. Jeff Mike Smith. Smith is part of your
Yes,
first
still
name.
from part of my
Akala ko you're like, that's your middle name.
yes. People do sometimes mistake me for that.
Mr. Jeff Mike Smith Sule. Can you please share a little background on how you started your career as an accountant?
Okay. So I actually, for me, I could say that I started my career as an accountant in a traditional way. Not sure if it's still the trend nowadays, but I still believe, based on my students, the path that I taken when I graduated from Bachelor of Science in Accountancy is the traditional go to the audit firm sort of career path. So it's what has been advised also by my professor. Of course, the first persons for you to coach you in your career are your professors, because they are the one who taught you the course for around 4 years or 5 years in some schools. So my professors, most of them actually, majority of them, they're saying that you should go to audit firm, you get the experience, that sort of thing. So I think that's actually the traditional way to do the accounting career. So I go to the can I mention the name?
Yeah.
So I went to SGV, to Sisig Girls Villain Company. So just how I was coached by my professors, I will be. They're saying that you just get the experience. You don't need to linger in that. But if you want to, of course, you could do so. But most of actually still nowadays, most of the accountants, they just do the get the experience, and then they're saying that if you are already in an audit firm, it's not really. It doesn't matter if it's the Big Four or the well-known companies, as long as it's in the audit firm. When you went outside of the audit firm, basically when you put it in your resume, your curriculum vitae, it really boosts your career with other companies. They see the audit work for the accountant as a very good foundation for the accountant. So when I was in SGV, so I actually did do the traditional audit in that sense. I first had the so-called IT audit. So it's basically we do have some foundation in that in school, but of course when you are in the job, it's really different. It's quite not the traditional way of doing the audit that we know, because it's the IT, so it's more of the complex IT component. So that's it. Then after my stint with SGV, actually before I left, I've been assigned also to the financial audit at that time. Then I've been doing teaching after the audit firm stint. Then I went back around 2016 to practice. So it's again another shift in career from audit firm, from public accounting practice to academe. Then now it's a mix of an academe as well as corporate practice of the accountancy profession.
So while you were working in SG, you are also a part-time faculty member?
Yes, that's true.
How did you start your career sa academy?
Okay. So basically, when I was in SGV, there is actually little room for you to do part-time. But in my case, with the IT audit, it's not really, as I mentioned, a traditional external assurance or audit. So with IT audit, there's basically some form of room. There's actually no busy season that we could speak of. There are some, because you support also, as an IT auditor, you support also the engagements of the assurance as well. But not in a sense that you have to you for the busy season, you have to be also involved, heavily involved. So, uh, some of my colleagues in STV, they're actually some of them they're actually teaching also. That's actually the take off point for me when I was in STV. So I of course there's also the passion for you to share, even though it's just my first years in the career. There's already the passion in me, the belief that you have to also share your experiences. It may be little compared to the other veterans in the profession, but there's something to learn from it. And, it's an experience, so there's no really nothing bad about it. So that's actually the point at which I transitioned very little. I left SGV actually, and then I went to teaching.
So you were a full-time instructor after.
Yes, after I left SGV.
Where did you get the passion that you mentioned that you wanted to share?
Actually, there are. It's quite inexplicable. It's really not a. There's no word that could really describe the passion. But I think when I was teaching, and still teaching naman. But when I was full time, every day that you are attending the class, there's the expectation from your student that they will learn something from you. So you see from their eyes that there is something to learn today from sir, and something to know, and there's another experience that we will learn from him. We don't really need, of course, there's still no best teacher than experience, but you will consider the things that I experience. You share that to the students, and they appreciate it. Because of course, if you just teach by the book, they also read the books. Basically, you're not really adding something if you just go by the book. So, but if you combine it with applications, with experience, there's really the reinforcement that the students really need. Since accounting naman is not really something that goes by the science, na hindi siya parang definite. When you do it in practice, when you apply it, these are actually an art to the accounting profession.
So, what particular feedback did you receive from your students that you remember na parang nag-stuck sa inyo or parang na-influence yung output mo?
That's right.
Parang was there a feedback from one of your students na parang they said thank you for helping them in their subjects, or parang you have helped them with their careers? Was there a particular feedback that you received from them?
Actually, in my years that I was I've been teaching, there are actually a lot of feedbacks. There are good, because there are some negative. Regardless of your profession, there's a mix of that. But focusing on the good feedback, I believe there are a lot. And I think I can just share one instance that I received a particular good feedback. So of course, there's nothing really better way to share than to have a fellow student that you just met across the street, and then they remember that you are his or her his teacher, and then he thank you. Parang out of nowhere, there's actually no compelling reason. Kumbaga, I'm not your teacher anymore. So you graduated, you already landed a job. But there are a lot. Some students actually I don't remember anymore. But they say hi, then it's just you just met on in the street when you're walking already going home, or just going to your office, and then you met them, and then there's it could be just a small talk, but the profoundness of their words, of their the thank you, the compliments that you get from them, it's actually priceless.
So may I ask, is there aside from you, is there also an accountant in the same profession in the family?
Actually, no.
Ikaw lang po yung accountant.
Yes.
Your parents,
My parents, my father, he's a security guard. My mother, housewife.
Can you share a little background about your family and how, was there a particular story in childhood mo na naka-influence in you taking the accounting course?
Okay. Actually, it's not really some dramatic story or
It's a
experience.
dramatic or it's not?
It isn't. It isn't really that. I'm not sure if it's interesting, but when I was in high school, of course, that's the point. When you graduate in high school, you really need to. You're really pressured to think already of what you will become, because when you enroll in a particular school in college or in a university, that the course that you take in some way that will be your source of your employment of your job. So basically there's a pressure for you to know what are your goal in life, what do you want to become. Kumbaga, it's been asked of you since I think since you started not only in school but also when elders ask you what do you want to become, ganyan, ganyan. Of course, during your lifetime, there are changes. But when I was at that point at which I would have to choose, actually I didn't decide on that. My mother actually is the one who
Influence.
influenced me. But my mother actually is not an accountant. She graduated Bachelor of Banking and Finance, and then she just mentions that if you're not decided on what profession or what course you would take, she suggested that why not try accountant, and he's saying that and it still holds true that accountant is always in demand. Whatever companies that there's always a need for an accountant. So I take it from her that okay, so I get it. Although I don't really have that knowledge of what accountant is. Even her, she's just describing the thing that the accountant. But I hold on to that thought that okay, so I'll try it. Of course, if it's not really for me, I'll try. Then I'll see to it if that's the thing that will actually be the path or the course of my life for that profession.
Pero was there a particular course na you wanted to take initially?
Okay. So initially, so in high school, so since when you graduated in high school, again you're not yet decided. Some I think they could relate to me that you're not yet, you don't know where to go. So at that point, actually, I'm idealistic at that point. So kumbaga, when you graduated from high school, you're not yet keen on, since your parents are still supporting you to college. So hindi kayo parang you're choosing a course because yayaman ka dito, something like that. So parang medyo idealistic ka pa na ano yung thing or profession or the job that would really reward you, not only in terms of financial but also personal fulfillment. And at that point in time when I was in high school, I actually was looking on my strength. Basically, you look at your subjects and where do you perform most, the best. And when I was in high school, I could say that I perform best in English and science. So the initial course would be, if it's science, then I would be taking, for example, chemistry, something like that in the sciences, pharmacology, or it could be biology or something like that. And then in English, the one of the profession for English would be journalism. But when I look back, I'm not saying that it's a bad choice if I chose those professions. But when I look back, if I'm going to take it practically, the accounting profession that I took now actually has, I would assume that gives me more financial fulfillment than if I choose. That's my initial assessment. But of course, professions are not created equal. There are some professions that would really give you much, and some would really just you're just doing this for passion, not really for the financial. But in accountant, I'm proud to say that I'm able to get some people would say that you're just doing the profession just for money. Accountant is actually about money or cash or how you value the business, how you help the business, how you measure the business. But actually, ironically, in the accountancy profession, I was able to get both sides of the same coin and the advantages of financial as well as personal fulfillment.
So, accountancy was not really your first choice, pero as
Yes.
you go along with the course, you learn to love it na rin.
Yes.
So, no regrets with taking the course.
Of course.
Pero, was there a particular struggle na you went through during your college days?
Okay.
Especially nung time na, di ba, when you were just starting, it was, you didn't really like it, or you liked it na rin naman natin.
So we're really
Struggles mo. Sige, go.
during study or
During college.
during college. Okay. So actually, my struggle during college is really in my first year. Actually, I'm thinking different people would really have struggles in the 4 years or 5 years, but in my case, I could say that my struggle really falls on my first year and my first year of study. The reason why, and I think most of us could relate, most of us, because if you will notice in the first year, there's actually the point at which there's a lot of attrition. You could see attrition. There are actually a lot of course shifters or students who would, if they still would like to pursue accountancy, they will go to another college just to still continue the study. So I think that's one reason, and the second reason, so of course the first reason is you're seeing the trend among in your surroundings na nauubos kayo, parang ikaw lang natitira, konti lang kayo natitira. The second struggle is, since as I mentioned earlier, I don't have the background actually. Even my mother, she really couldn't describe it in a or put it in a better perspective for me. When I started in accountancy, there are of course some of your classmates. They do have introduction or basic foundation when they were in high school about accountancy, and for those who don't have any knowledge when they started in first year, like me, actually we are parang parang ang bobo ko naman. Parang ang galing nila nakakasabi sila, but I cannot really understand. And I appreciate the efforts put by the professor in the first year, because you're actually basically looking at the students that most of them they have zero knowledge in accountancy. So I think that is the most struggle, the most difficult part of my study in the college. Trying to understand, that's the first time that you will be encountering accounting concepts, and you don't have really in your high school, you're not prepared. You don't have any concept of that accountancy. So I think that's the most difficult struggle.
May I ask, were you financially struggling when you were still in college?
Yes.
Kasi I want to make this story parang nag-inspire me. So, was there a particular story that you want to share?
Okay. So I mentioned that my father is actually my father at that time is a traffic enforcer, and now he's a security guard. So I think you could say that the salary or the compensation that he gets from his job is not really that much. It's just enough to support, I think, the daily expenses of the family. So education is, even though in Abraham Maslow's hierarchy, you could say that it's quite one of the basic needs. But education, compared to food, to house, to clothing, that's a luxury. So, but primarily here in the Philippines, if you look at our population, education really is something that the privileged can afford. We do have the public, and of course it's still free. But in college, unlike you have the public high school, you have the public elementary, in college there are only a limited slot, or you could say a limited opportunity for the Filipinos to be educated. And so when I was trying to choose college, of course there's really, you could say, I don't really have a choice but to go to a state university.